Well, good morning, everyone. I am John Mann, Director of Education for Lakeside. And today we're fortunate that Michael Martin is joining us for a lecture titled Turning AI Hype into Human Advantage. Michael Martin is a globally recognized thought leader, speaker, and executive advisor specializing in the intersection of human-centric leadership and artificial intelligence. He was also the National Top 10 Principal of the Year in 2024. He also has done some work for the Department of Education at the federal level concerning AI. Michael champions the idea of that technology must serve humanity. He holds degrees in leadership, business, and history. And this morning's presentation's goal is to guide us from the state of tech panic to a position of intentionally, and will provide a clear mission to Lakesiders to balance technology use with their relationship-centered living. This week's sessions are supported by Mary Lou and Don Leffler. And as a reminder, this afternoon at 3:30, there will be a presentation by Tom Gaudier on American Global Soft Power. I would ask if you would please mute your cell phone ringers if you haven't already, and help me in welcoming Michael Martin.
Everybody panicked and staring at the wire. I just took the spark and I built a bigger fire. You can fight the current, you can drown in the noise, or you can reconfigure, give the people a voice. We ain't running from the metal, ain't scared of the screen, just teaching the human how to drive the machine. Welcome to the shift, welcome to the age, got that disruptain walking on the stage. It's the human equation, square and true. Let the tech take the 80, leave the 20 to you. Yeah, kick up the dust. Let the harmony ring.
All right, good morning, Lakeside. How are you? So I start with that video for a couple reasons. Number one, it's obviously all AI generated. It took me about 10 minutes to make that video, which was kind of fun. Number two, I like to wake people up with it, right? And number three, I think that's my wife's favorite version of me. Right? It's like a cross between Ben Affleck and me, right? And so I like to lead with that. And so first of all, thank you for showing up. I know it's Lakeside, Ohio. I know there is so much you guys can do today, so many things you'll be out there doing with your family, on the lake with your grandkids, your kids. So it does mean a lot to me that you did show up this morning for this. And as John said, listen, this is living in the age of disruption, right? And so what I want to do today is spend a little time helping us get over some of the nerves, recognizing the nerves, getting over those, and maybe accepting it, adapting it, and integrating it. Now, he did say silence your phones. Now, I think this is a pretty important keynote, right? So I put this up here, so even though your phones are silenced, if you take a picture of it, right, this will take you to a live link of this presentation. That way, if you have children, grandchildren, friends, anybody at your school, anybody that you think should see it, please share it with them. It's good stuff. It's helpful to anybody and everybody. So go ahead and take a picture of that. Theoretically, it should take you to a live link of the presentation. If not, you can see me afterwards. I can share it with you too as well. All right. Like any good educator, out there, I do have some learning objectives, some topics, and some concepts that I do want to cover today. And I think I need to let you know what those are in advance, right? So you take a look at these. We're going to talk about the 1840s, what I call the OG AI, phone data, IBM mainframes, the office, the modern paradox, bad dating advice. You can't have a presentation without Seinfeld. I think it's an absolute must. Something called the still face experiment. Leftovers, voice, brain drain study, Parks and Rec, AI squared. That's one of my theories that we'll talk about later. Holding hands, kindergartners, 80-20 rule, which is another Dr. Martin rule. Rats, and of course, challenges. And somewhere in this seemingly disparate, non-connected topic, somewhere along the way, I think we're going to have some profound thought. I think you're going to laugh a little. Hopefully nobody cries. And then at the end of it, I think you're going to leave here with some ideas, with a plan maybe, and with some hope. Right? And maybe with a little bit more profound thinking as well when it comes to AI. Also, I should let you know, I'm pretty ADD. I have a hard time standing still. So I'll walk back and forth, up and down. So I apologize now. So let's get started. So let's recognize this first. Let's just get this out there get it out there for everybody to see and just admit, there is a human quirk, right? And we all have it. We all have it to a certain extent, some greater than others. But human beings in general are prone to not liking change. They just don't, right? We are evolutionarily designed to resist change. And then this shows up in anything we're doing. It could be your career path. It could be changing jobs. It could be going into retirement. Hopefully it's not changing spouses. But it could be anything that you're doing in life that requires change, right? We have a natural inclination to resist that, right? And the elephant in the room, literally, or the elephant in our pocket right now, right, is that a lot of that change that we fear, right, in the last 20 to 25 years has come through a number of disruptive technologies, right, a number of them. So we do have a fear of the change, the rapid pace of change when it comes to technology, and it's completely human. It's completely normal, right? You shouldn't be ashamed of that. You should accept that. You should embrace that. We like the good old days, right? The good old days. That was the news. Love the weatherman. So we are very comfortable with how things were, but as you can see, life moves on, time moves on, and change does occur, right? And over the last 50 years, I think we've done a pretty good job of adapting to that change. But I'm going to tell you two stories that I think that really describe this feeling pretty well. The number one, the first story starts in the 1840s. This man's name is John. John was uptown. He was in the square. He was at a tavern having a conversation with other men. And John was all fired up. They were having this conversation about this newfangled technology, about this new technology, how it's just going to destroy the American work ethic. It's going to destroy the Protestant work ethic. All right? And it's the 1840s. America's a really new country. And this young experiment is just going to fall apart because of this new technology. So he hops on his horse. He goes home as fast as he can. He gets to his cabin. He walks in the door. He slams it shut. He lights his candles, pulls out his quill pen, and he starts to write. He starts to write, feverishly. all right, about all the downfalls of this new technology and how we cannot accept it and we have to fight it. And he writes an op-ed that goes into the newspaper, right? And John's not the only one. There are a number of op-eds throughout the country at this time. Does anybody have any idea what this newfangled technology that was causing John all sorts of anxiety might have been? Electricity is a good one. That's a good guess. That's not what I have here, but that's a good one. Yes, sir. Telegraph, excellent guess. I'm going back a little bit before that, but great guess. Not the railroad. That crazy number 2 pencil. Right? Right? Because here's the thing. There was no work ethic that came with writing anymore. The quill pen took a lot of effort. You had to sit down and be focused. You had to think about what you were writing before you wrote it because you couldn't go back and rewrite it. With that gosh darn eraser, you can make any mistake you want. Are you kidding me? We're going to let kids make mistakes and tell them it's okay? Right? And here's the second one. And I should ask, is there any NBA basketball fans out there before I go into this one? I'm hoping there are a few at least. Awesome. Okay. You might recognize this, right? So one of the best guards in the history of the NBA is a guy by the name of Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson played at Georgetown. He was drafted by the Philadelphia 76ers, and then he led the 76ers to an NBA Finals. He didn't win it, but he led them to an NBA Finals. He was also the MVP of the league, and he also led the league in scoring. He was a fantastic basketball player. His nickname was AI. That's why I use him. His nickname was AI, right? And his they called him the answer. They called him the answer. So he's the original AI. And as good as he was, what he's really known for is this press conference that he had because he missed practice. Now, obviously, this is an AI-generated version of Allen Iverson as a kid doing the press conference.
Here, I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice. Not a game. Not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice. I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm supposed to lead by example. I know that.
So I bring that up for a couple reasons, right? So we have two stories. One, John in the 1840s, right? This newfangled technology. And then Allen Iverson, the original AI, the solution, right? The answer. And he's talking about practice. And I bring that up for a reason, right? Even though he says practice, when we talk about technology, when we talk about the internet, when we talk about our phones, and when we talk about AI, we're really just talking about algorithms. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about algorithms. That's what they are. AI is based on algorithms. Algorithms that we create, by the way. Algorithms that we train, by the way, right? They really are just algorithms, right? And so I think throughout history, as I told you before, we have this resistance to change, especially technology change, and certainly in the last 25 years because of the disruptive technology and the pace of it. And it's completely human to be afraid of it. It is. It's completely human to be afraid of it, so embrace that. But I'm just asking us to not forget that we've seen this change before, right? Number 2 pencil. Some of you guys have mentioned the telegraph, right? These are things that we've been afraid of before. And now this is just the next evolution. It's our modern fear. But again, it's just algorithms. Now, I will tell you this. I will state this, though. AI is a bit more powerful than the number 2 pencil. You know? What it can do is a bit more powerful, right? The number 2 pencil could erase, right, and rewrite. AI can generate content for you, right, quickly and easily. So I don't want to diminish the power and the abilities of AI, and I don't want to diminish our fear of it, because we should have it all. But I also don't want us to forget about the fact that we've seen this show before. Here's another example, right? In the last 51 years, I'm 51 years old now, so in my lifetime, here's what we've seen. The rise of mainframes, very disruptive, very disruptive. The rise of PCs, right? Again, very disruptive. Laptops, we could also point in here, right? Work started coming home with you all the time, very disruptive. The web, very disruptive. Smartphones, very disruptive. And now we're in generative AI, again, very disruptive. As a matter of fact, we've seen similar things economically. If you go back about 16 years ago, if you remember correctly, they used to charge us for the amount of data that we used to use on our phones. They used to have tiers of data. Do you remember that? And they charged you a lot. And then if you didn't use your data, too bad, right? And if you used more data than you had, they charged you some more, right? Well, raise your hand if you get charged for data anymore. We don't, do we? Right? So this article on the right came out not too long ago. Anthropic's going to start charging people for AI use. And just to give you some quick tech words, AI generates what's called tokens, right? Whenever it generates an email or a document or a paragraph, whatever, every syllable on average, every couple letters or a syllable is a token, right? Back in the day for smartphones, it was bits. With AI, it's tokens, right? And so they're starting to charge people for tokens. You're starting to see all these tiered pricing structures for tokens. I'm pretty much sure in 10 to 15 years, you'll see that go away too, right? The reason I bring this up is because economically, we've seen this before. And economically, we've handled it before. And economically, we solved it before. Again, bits and tokens are kind of the same thing. The mobile networks of the 2010 are like large language models of 2026. And I love this one. I pulled this out of the 1960s, right? This thing called the mainframe is going to be 150 extra engineers. Pulled it out of a magazine. And people were losing their minds over it because we won't have engineers anymore. Do me a favor. Raise your hand if you are an engineer or you know an engineer. I don't think we lost them, right? I don't think we lost them. Now, to be sure, as I said before, this new technology is absolutely amazing. There are some amazing things that AI can do for us. I think we need to look at that as well. So just real quick, here's some things that it can do that you probably don't think about a lot. Early detection when it comes to diseases. AI is not smarter than our doctors. It's not smarter than our surgeons, but it has a much wider aperture than any human being does. It can process tens of thousands data points at one time across 1,000 patients at one time. It can recognize that in a singular patient, if there's a slight fluctuation in a certain protein, and if that same patient has a specific biomarker, that on average in 5 years from now, that patient will have a specific type of cancer. It can do that, right? We get excited about when we catch cancer at stage 1. It can catch cancer 5 years in advance, saving years of patients' lives, right? It can also do this. It can find cures a whole lot faster. It takes about 15 years on average from a drug to come to market, right? Because there's lots of testing has to be done, and it should be done. Lots of lab testing, lots of petri dishes, lots of, hey, here's my compound I'm working on, here's the target I'm trying to cure, and then we're going to reiterate the process over and over and over again until we know for sure that this drug works. AI can simulate that in a fraction of the time. So it can bring cures faster, and it can detect disease earlier. Along with that, there's some really neat things that AI can do. They're working on people who have become blind. Maybe they're born being able to see, but throughout life they've lost their vision, they're blind. There are literally cameras that are small and undetectable that you can wear, and as you walk around and move around, it creates a soundscape of everything that you would normally see, and it gives you vivid detail that you hear. So you know that right in front of you, about 3 feet from me, is another place where I can turn right. And there's a lady sitting very engaged and listening to this conversation, right? I mean, it gives you all of those details, creating a soundscape for those who are blind, trying to bring a little bit of a visual representation to them. That's amazing. People who've lost their voices over time. I have a very good friend of mine. He played basketball for me back in, oh my gosh, 1999 and 2000, 26 years ago. He has ALS. He's going to lose his voice, right? He's going to lose the ability to talk. But they can clone his voice, the rhythm of his voice, right? The specific modes that he uses when he speaks. They can clone all that, and he can type a sentence and verbalize that in his voice to his family, right? There's absolutely amazing things that we can do with this technology. I don't want to get into the whole automated driver thing because I know people are scared of that, but think about AI and all the things it does in our cars now to keep us safe. It's like a protective shield over us. We're driving it, right? But there's lots of tech and tools in our cars that's ran by AI that keeps us safe, right? AI doesn't get distracted. As human beings, when we're driving down the road, we're looking at a billboard, we're distracted, right? We want to mess with the radio, we get distracted. I've seen it too many times. Kids pull out their phone and look at their text messages. We get distracted. AI doesn't do that, right? It doesn't get tired, right? We do. So I'm not talking about cars that drive for us. I'm just talking about the tools that we have in our cars because of AI that act as a protective shield. So let's be honest. There are a lot of great things that AI can do for us. But on the flip side, there's a whole lot of downfall that comes with AI too.
Proceed straight.
Well, we're 0 for 6. Last chance is the Elmhurst Country Club. Other side of the lake on the southeast side.
I don't get it. I really don't get it. I thought this would work. Do everything I had at that guy, nothing.
That's how it goes sometimes, you know? You lose everything, and everything falls apart, and eventually you die and no one remembers you.
That is a very good point to make.
Make a right turn.
Wait, no. It means bear right.
No,
Up there.
it said right. It said take a right.
No, look. It means go up to the right, bear right, over the bridge, and hook up with 307.
Make a right
Maybe it's
turn.
a shortcut, Dwight. It said go to the right.
It can't mean that. There's a lake there. I think it knows where it is going.
This is the
the
lake.
machine
This
knows.
is the lake.
Stop yelling at me.
No, it's
Stop
not
yelling.
Here.
Remain calm. I have trained for this. Okay. Exit the window. Here we go.
Make a U-turn, if possible.
Look out for Leighton.
Certainly that's a very humorous clip. But with lots of humor, there's a hint of truth in it. And that's why we find it humorous, right? AI is an amazing tool. It's a terrible master. I'll say this a lot. It's a terrible master. And we can't treat it like a master. And unfortunately, we have a generation of people who are. For example, as of right now, young adults, ages 16 to 28, are the most connected generation in the history of the world. Right? The most connected generation in the history of the world. On average, they have like 274 connections. Right? But yet, they're 2 times more likely to be lonely and depressed than any other generation in the history of the world. Right? Because while they may have some connections, while they may use these devices to be connected, right? These connections aren't true connections. They're not real connections. They're not human connections, right? They're technological connections. And as we become increasingly connected to our devices, to our platforms, to AI, because kids are using it all the time, true connection is suffering. I'm going to say this a lot, so this will be the first time I say it, but you'll hear it a lot. We are becoming much more efficient with this technology, but we have to weigh that efficiency, right, with the loss of intimacy that happens as well. We have to find that balance. 48% of young adults will tell you that this technology, their cell phones, their devices, their social media, and AI now, they will tell you it's not good for them. They know it, right? They absolutely know it. What's amazing to me is the cognitive dissonance that comes along with this, right? They recognize the downfalls of the technology, they recognize the downfalls of the platforms, but they're so addicted to it that they can't get over it. And they're not the one that's wrong, but their friends are. They can see it in their friends, right? And they can see it in others. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story about a guy by the name of Nick. I'm going to leave his last name out, just in case anybody knows him, right? But Nick was kind of a loner in high school. Nice kid, but kind of a loner in high school. Never had a girlfriend in high school. Really didn't have a whole lot of friends in high school. Didn't do anything after school, wasn't involved or engaged in any after school activities. Right? He would come to school, spend his time there, get on the bus, go back home, and spend some time in his bedroom. That's what he did. Right? Nick goes off to college, meets a girl online, meets her, they meet in person, they like each other, and they start to date. This is all new for Nick, right? On a particular date, early on in their relationship, they get into a bit of an argument. Nothing major, but a bit of an argument. All right? The rest of the night goes well, but Nick goes home. The girlfriend texts him the next day regarding this argument that they had. Nick didn't know how to respond because Nick is new to dating. So Nick took the text, copied it, and put it into ChatGPT. And by the way, I'll call that Chatty from now on. Nick put it into Chatty and then gave Chatty all the background of what happened and asked Chatty for advice. Chatty gave Nick some advice on how to respond. So Nick took that advice and responded back to his girlfriend. She then responds back to him. He copies that into Chatty again and creates a response. And this goes back and forth for days. It gets to the point where Nick actually breaks up with his girlfriend. He didn't intend to, but Chatty led him down the road to breaking up with her, right? That begs the question, why didn't Nick go to another adult? Why didn't he go to another person? Why did he turn to Chatty? You see, and I'll say this a number of times throughout this talk as well. I believe in the thing that I call AI squared. There's 2 AIs in every organization. Schools for sure, where I'm at. Right? Houses for sure too. AI is an artificial intelligence, and AI is as the adult inhabitant. Why are kids turning to artificial intelligence instead of the adults in their life as well? This came out back in October. ChatGPT is ran by OpenAI. OpenAI provides data every 6 months. 1 million users per week were consulting ChatGPT about suicidal ideation. 1 million users per week. Not me, not you, not grandma, not grandpa, not mom, not dad, not a trusted best friend, but they consulted AI about suicide. Again, where's the adults? Where's the adult inhabitants? What happened to those relationships? What happened to that connection? Why are they turning to an artificial intelligence? I get it. In some cases, it's easier to tell ChatGPT things that are embarrassing that you don't want to tell a friend or an adult or somebody. I get that. But 1 million users per week, that's just mind-blowing to me. We got to lighten it up a little bit.
Well, this new telephone number is driving me crazy. Wrong numbers every 5 minutes.
What is it?
Well, it's 555-3455.
555-3455.
Yeah.
555-3455. But wait a second, don't you see? That's 555-FILK.
What's Filk?
Filk's nothing, but 555-film is movie phone.
Oh, movie phone.
Yeah, so people just dialing it by mistake and getting you.
So I'm Filk.
You're Filk.
Oh, Mama. What's going on? Oh. Yeah, hello. Yeah, no, hold on. Yeah, Cupid's rifle, 830 Sony Lincoln Square. Yeah, no problem.
You're looking up movies for people now?
I got time. Do this. Cosmo. Yeah, uh-huh. No, I'll help. Yeah, Firestorm's good. I saw it yesterday. Yeah, well, my buddy Jerry, he's seen it twice. You want to talk to him? Here.
Man, I don't want to talk to him.
Just tell him about the picture. What's the matter with you? Stop it. Yes, you still there? Look, I'm sorry about that. All right, there's an 8:30 and a 10:15 showing.
So you want to catch a movie later? I don't have a paper, though.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone. Brought to you by the New York Times and Hot 97. Coming to theaters this Friday, Kevin Bacon, Susan Sarandon. You've got to get me over that mountain! Now! There's no higher place than Mountain High. Rated R. If you know the name of the movie you'd like to see, press 1.
Kramer? That you?
Lang?
What time does Chow Fun start?
I don't know.
Oh, Joanne and I went to see Channel with Jerry. With Jerry, huh? With Jerry. Great. Great. Probably went to the 84th Street. That's where I always go with Jerry.
Hello, and welcome to Movie Phone. If you know the name of the movie you'd like to see, press 1.
Come on, come on.
Using your touch-tone keypad, please enter the first 3 letters of the movie title now. You've selected Agent Zero. If that's correct, press 1.
What?
You've selected Brown-Eyed Girl. If this is correct, press 1. Why don't you just tell me the name of the movie you selected?
Channel?
To find the theater nearest you, please enter your 5-digit zip code now. Why don't you just tell me where you want to see the movie?
Lowe's Paragon, 84th and Broadway?
Channel is playing at the Paragon 84th Street Cinema in the main theater at 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, now I got you.
It's also playing in theater number 2 at 9 o'clock.
There really is no better character actor than Kramer, right? Best of all time. But like I said earlier, with all humor, there's a little bit of truth to that, right? And the truth is this. The efficiency of the phone and getting what you know, trying to figure out what it is you want and getting to the actual right answer versus the human intimacy of just wanting to talk to somebody, right? How many of us have gotten on the phone to try to get a hold of our cable provider or Verizon provider, and you spend 10 minutes just hitting buttons to try to get to the right person, and all you want to do is just talk to somebody, right? That's all you want to do. And hopefully that person's on this side of the pond so it's easier to communicate with, right? That's all you want to do. All right, but somewhere along the line, we've outsourced humanity in the name of efficiency. And all we want at times is just another human being, right? So when Nick is having problems with his girlfriend, right, where's the other human being? Why does this generation not turn to those human beings, right? When these kids are having, suicidal ideation, why are they turning to a machine and not turning to humans, right? And here's the other thing that I wasn't planning on saying, but it just popped in my head, and I think it's important, is you do know how AI is trained, right? It's trained on the data that we have off the internet. That's what it's trained on. And a big piece of that data is also social media. And I don't know if you know this or not, but people are mean on social media. They're mean, right? That mean social media data is going into AI and training it. People lie on social media, right? That's going into our AI and it's training it. Now, don't get me wrong. We're starting to figure this out. We're starting to train it better and smarter, and we're getting better at it, right? But just 6 months to 12 months ago, that stuff was being used to train AI. So it shouldn't surprise us that sometimes AI leads you down the path to break up with your girlfriend. Sometimes it leads you down the path to actually commit suicide, right? Sometimes it does, because there has been cases where that's happened, right? It's an amazing tool, but it's a terrible master. So I also think it's important to talk about this modern still face experiment. And I absolutely love this because I think it really does show the importance of that human connection that we're losing. In the 1970s, researchers took mamas and their babies, and when mothers would, tickle their baby and play with their baby and talk to their baby, and the baby would giggle back, right? And then they would do that, and then they told the mother to literally just stop and stare off in the distance. And they did. And when the mother stopped and stared off in the distance, The baby freaked out. It got nervous, it got anxious, started waving its arms, right? Starts kicking its legs. It starts screaming and crying, doing everything it knows how to do to get its mother's attention back and to get that focus back, right? So 30 to 40 years later, they kept on doing this experiment, but now instead of telling the mother to stop and look away, they tell the mother to stop and look at your smartphone, right? And the same thing happens. The baby freaks out. The baby gets anxious. The baby gets nervous. The baby wants that connection back. The baby wants to have that eye-to-eye contact, right? It does everything it can to get its mother's attention back. And that doesn't just happen with babies. It happens with adults too. It happens with kids. It happens with youth. It happens with young. It happens with all of us. I mean, think about those times where maybe you sat down with your boss or another coworker, and they stopped frequently your conversations and looked at their smartwatch or their smartphone. Right? Those are what we call technoference, micro interruptions to that absolutely critical biological connection that we all crave and need. We're raising a generation of kids who don't get a chance to experience that, to feel that, to recognize that. So I think there's a number of threats that are attacking the modern family today, a number of them, but there's only 3 based on time that we can get through today, right? Number 1, and this is something you may not think about a lot about, but economic anxiety and AI. I mean, we've read the headlines about AI taking our jobs. We've read that, right? That causes anxiety. It does. If you're the sole provider for your family and you're afraid that AI is going to take your job, that's going to cause a lot of trauma in your life as well, right? I mean, listen, I work anywhere on average between 60 to 65 hours a week. It's too much, I know, right? But it's kind of what happens in my position. I'm not complaining. But when I go home, if I'm present with my children, if I'm in the room with my children, but I'm still thinking about work, I'm still not present with my kids. Right? So if you're working 40 to 50 hours a week or 60 hours a week trying to prove your value because you're afraid of what AI is going to do and come and take your job, and so you're not at home, and when you do go home, you're still worried and stressed about it, you're really not with your kids, then that human biological connection is not happening. If you're not with your spouse and that human biological connection is not happening, it is having an impact, right, on our families. You guys all have access to this. Because of time, I won't do it, but if you click on this, it will take you to a link. It's pretty neat. It's called Will Robots Take My Job? Type in what job you think it is, and it'll give you the % of odds of you losing your job to AI, right? By the way, I did run mechanical engineers twice just to make sure I was right. Does anybody know what the percentage of the odds of mechanical engineers losing their job to AI? 16%. 16%. The second one, the rise of work creep, right? Listen. This technology is absolutely amazing, but it comes home with us all the time now. It comes home with us in laptops, right? It comes home with us in laptops. It comes home with us in emails right here. All right? I mean, I can show you speeches by presidents in the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s that told us that because of technology, that the modern work week will be 20 hours a week. The research is clear. You work 4 more weeks per year because of this, right? It didn't cut it down, they added to it. Now you throw AI onto this device, right? And we're doing even more. And what I catch myself in is AI is fun to play with. Those AI tools are fun to play with. So I catch myself at home, play with it all the time, right? I'm working on a project at work using AI. It's so much fun. If I get a dull moment at home, guess what I do? I pull up my phone and go back to work, right? That's work creep. Right? It's taking up more time in our lives. And then, of course, what probably scares me the most are these weaponized deepfakes. Right? The things that they can do with AI right now is just, it's unbearable at times, right? It's just terrible. They can go online, they can screenshot a picture of any person on social media, take that picture, go to an AI platform, and turn it into some sort of adult entertainment video, right? Or picture. And then splash that all over the place. It's illegal. You get in some trouble for it, so don't do it, right? But it can be done. They can clone your voice. They can clone your voice, make it sound real, and then literally type in commands and have it speak and sound just like you, right? So there's all these weaponized deepfakes that can happen as well too. So for all the great things that this tool can do for us, there's also a lot of bad things as well. So how do we stop the madness, right? How do we stop the madness of all those bad things that can occur because of AI? So I've developed what I call the LIVE framework, right? And really the framework's nothing more than just some tips and tricks and some hints, right? That's really all it is. It's just easier for humans to remember it if it's in a framework. So I developed the LIVE framework, and I call it the LIVE framework because I want you to live, right, a good life. I want you to live your life in the age of disruption, right? I want you to be able to do it. So here's what it stands for. L stands for you got to learn the landscape, understand the environment, understand the pressures, right? Understand all of that. Intentional integration. Weave tech into your daily rhythms, into your daily schedules, right, without losing presence. V, validate the human. Prioritize emotional intelligence and human needs over digital efficiency. And then E, embody connection. Model deep physical connection. So let's break these down. Learn the landscape. Listen, engage with the tools. Engage with them. Get on Gemini and play around. Right? Get on ChatGPT, get an account, and start learning it. Right? Go to Claude and start learning it. Go to Perplexity and start learning it. Whatever it may be, choose a tool and start learning it. Because you can't talk to your children, your grandchildren, your friends. You can't talk to them intelligently about it if you don't know about it. Right? You can't do it. So learn it, right? Learn about these technologies as much as you can, and then try to guide your family. Or learn from them. Let them teach you. Have them pull out ChatGPT and show you how they're using it. Let them show you how you could use it, right? Learn it, right? But once you know what you're doing, once you've learned it, I don't care how you learn it, model it with ethical use, right? Model it the way that it should be used. Don't be doing deep fakes, that's bad stuff. Don't be using it to write your daughter's English paper, that's bad stuff, right? But use it ethically, all right? You can't stick your head in the sand. We can't do that, right? Here's the thing. AI as we know it now, as of July 14th, 2026, is not going away. The genie's out of the bottle. We're not putting it back in without government overreach. We're not. Now, the government might slow down the rapid innovation of it so it doesn't keep on increasing at such a rapid rate. They might do that. But as we know it now, it's not going away. Right? So we have to know how to use it, how to frame it, and how to work with it, and then model that for our kids. Intentional integration, right? Here's the thing. There are so many things in our lives that we could do, that we could use AI for that will save us time, right? So here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about something that you do on a daily basis or a weekly basis that's mundane, right? That's mundane, or something that's a pain point in your life that you can use AI to do, right? And then use it for that. And then the time that you save, because AI did it for you, go spend with somebody. Go spend with connecting with somebody. Let me give you an example. So for me, one of the pain points I have is grocery shopping. I have 4 daughters and a wife, right? So 5 women and me. My wife says she loves me and wants me to eat healthy and live a long, long, long time with her. Although I would tell you, I like to have flavor every now and then. I'm not certain that it's completely worth it, but we will spend an hour to an hour and a half in the grocery store easily, right? So I built an AI bot for this, right? So all I do is called the Grocery Plan AI. So all I do is just type hello. Can you guys all see that? I type hello, and then it asks me, because I told it to do it, these questions right here, like what's your zip code, what's your preferred grocery store that you go to. For me, it's Kroger Bucyrus. Any restrictions? Yeah, we're very, very healthy. We don't like red meat. We like turkey. We like things that have no flavor. Number of family members that you have in your household, and how many meals do you want to plan for this week? So I put all that in there for it, right? I type it all in there, and then it goes to Kroger, right, in Bucyrus, scans all the digital coupons, knows what I want, and then puts together a grocery list of things for me to buy. Along with that, because I've built the AI to do this, along with that, it also plans 5 dinners and 4 lunches as well. So here are my dinner plans. Meal 1, it's going to be a sheet pan garlic herb chicken and roasted veggies. I know you're all jealous. Meal 2, healthy ground turkey taco bowls. Meal 3, grilled chicken chopped salad night. All the way down to meal 5, quick chicken and spinach stir fry. And then there's my wife's healthy lunches. Turkey spinach egg scramble with cottage cheese, Mediterranean chicken and salad prep. And then because I really want to be efficient with my time, I trained the bot to do this for me. When you make the list, put every item in each section. So I'm in the meat and poultry section, here's my items. When I'm in the produce section, here's my items. Here's how much they cost. Right? Here's how much they cost. And what's really neat is, like, if you look down here, it says, Nature Sweet tomatoes, 1 pack, $2.99. That's the weekly digital deal. I get pretty excited about that. Weekly digital deal, $4.99, right? But you know how much time it takes me now to plan and prep for my grocery run? 2 minutes. How much quicker am I in and out of that grocery store? A whole lot quicker. And I'm not buying stuff I don't need because I'm not walking up and down the aisles looking for it. I know what I'm after, right? So the wife tells me to go to produce. She goes to the dairy. We send the kids to the pantry and dry goods, and we're done in 15, 20 minutes, right? And then what do we do with that hour that we just saved? What do? Go for a walk, bike ride, play a board game, right? Something, right? Something together, something to stay connected. Does that make sense? So find something in your life where there's a pain point, where there's something where you can use AI to do it for you. The ultimate goal is you want to buy back time, right? So we can spend it on people. So intentional integration. Third one is validate the human. This is the hardest to explain. It really is. Because there's so much that comes along with this. So I'm going to try to focus on a few things. So AI isn't always right? Whatever it pumps out, a lot of times there's going to be some incorrect things in there. It's called hallucinations, right? It's called hallucinations. It makes mistakes. So you as a human have to go back and look at everything to make sure it's right and correct. You don't have to spend hours, but just spend a couple minutes making sure things are right? So you're the human. Validate your own humanity, right? Make sure that you check it first. Because again, AI is a great tool. It's a terrible master. We don't want it driving us into the lake, right? So we got to make sure that we go back and validate it. Now when it comes to your kids, and this is one of my biggest fears about AI, and I just did an interview yesterday with U.S. News and World Report on this, because I think it's something that's pretty important and that no one's talking about. Have you noticed that when AI, who uses AI? I'm just curious. Have you noticed that when you ask it to create a response, it uses a lot of the same similar language? Have you noticed that? The tone, unless you tell it otherwise, is the same, right? So when we start creating a lot of AI products, right, a lot of it's going to sound very similar and sound the same. That scares me. Not because of cheating purposes, right? Not because of that. That scares me because when young adults are with you at home and having conversations with you at home, when young adults are at school and they're engaging with different types of content and topics and things, right? When they're doing that, when they're taking their own unique ideas and they're putting them on paper, when they're taking their own unique ideas and they're verbalizing them to you, they're developing their own persona. They're developing their own voice. What happens when we stop doing that? We lose our voice, right? We lose our persona. We lose that. And that really does make me nervous. We lose our uniqueness, right? And so in a world that's saturated with AI-generated content, original thought really is the new gold, right? So encourage children, or anybody, to find and develop their own unique voice before asking a machine to amplify it, right? Turn to an adult, have that debate, have that discussion, iron out your thoughts first before you turn to a prompt, right? Before you turn to artificial intelligence. So validate the human first. Then the last one is embody connection, all right? Embody connection. Listen, you've got to set physical boundaries indicating where AI and tech are not allowed. So here's some of my suggestions. Number one, right? Number one, this phone, that device, AI in general does not belong at the dinner table. It doesn't. That is where you guys sit down as a family and you discuss everything wonderful that happened today. All the delights that occurred in your world today. All the good things that occurred in your world today. Maybe some bad things happened and you got some anxiety, right? That's where you share that anxiety with your family. That's where that bodily connection comes into play. That biological connection that we crave comes into play. Do not lose that time. Don't lose it. Number two, the bedside. It doesn't need to be in your bedroom, right? Listen, if I ever become a superintendent one day, that may change, right? I may have to get a phone call at 3 o'clock in the morning from the sheriff saying that the roads are really bad, you gotta go check them, right? But as of right now, that thing is 50 feet from where I sleep, right? It doesn't need to be there. That's where I decompress at the end of the day, right? That's where I think about all my wishes and my hopes and my dreams, right? That's where I do all of that. Right? And if I don't have that alone time, that quiet time, those things don't happen. Any space that's reserved for deep, uninterrupted conversations. My wife and I are very, very, very busy. So our best conversations happen in the car, unfortunately. But that's where they happen. No tools, no device during that time. That's just her and I chatting, her and I talking, right? So you got to create sacred spaces for yourself. You have to. You also have to create sacred times for yourself. First hour in the morning, my kids don't touch the phones. I will touch it. I built another AI bot that scans my work schedule, right? It scans my calendar, and it will shoot me a text if I have a meeting within the first 2 hours of my day. I don't want to forget that. I don't want to just go to work and totally forget that. So if there's a meeting I have within the first 2 hours a day, I'm getting a text. Other than that, I don't touch my device. Don't let your kids or your grandkids touch it. Listen. They don't need to be stressed out about going to school because of what they read on social media before they get to school, right? Don't let them do it. So the first hour of the morning, go outside, grab a cup of coffee, and enjoy the sunrise, right? Last hour of the night, again, that's where you decompress, right? That's where everything's off, and your mind just wanders, and I'll get to why that's important here in just a second. And anytime you're breaking bread as a family, anytime you're together as a family, right? Those are sacred times. So embody that connection. Now, why is that so important? There was an amazing study that was done. All right, amazing study that was done with smartphones. And here's what they did. There was 3 different groups in this. There was the control group where this group had no phone, no device at all. Okay. There was a second group where they said, put it on your body somewhere, like in your pants, in your jacket, leave it on. And then there was a third group that said, put it on silent, put it face down on the table. All 3 groups were given the exact same cognitive challenging task. All 3 groups. Which of those 3 groups do you think did the best on that task? The one that didn't have the device at all, right? Where there was no device, it wasn't allowed, it was put in another room. That group did the best on the cognitive challenging task. The group that had it on themselves, right? They had it on themselves, even though it was on, they didn't do well. But they didn't do the worst. The group that did the worst is the one that had it on silent, on the table, and faced down. Now remember, they can't see it and they can't hear it, but they did the worst. Why? Because your brain is so addicted to the dopamine hit that comes from that device, and it knows it can't have the device right now, that it expends more energy and time trying to ignore the device than it does to focus on your task at hand. Does that make sense? So even though you're sitting down together as a family and your kids say, but I got it on silent, it's over here, Mom. It doesn't matter. Right? It doesn't matter. Because their brain is so wired to the dopamine hits that come with it that they have to expend energy to not think about it And when they're expending that energy about that, they're not with you. Does that make sense? Okay, one more short video.
Hey, bro! Listen, I was trying to buy this handcrafted mahogany wood model of a B-25 Mitchell Panchito aircraft.
Aw, for me?
Don't sass me. And I went to this website and this ad popped up that said, "Hey, Ron Swanson, check out this great offer."
What's your question?
My question is, what the hell?
Like, how do they know who you are?
Yeah.
Okay, there are these things called cookies, where like if you go to a site and buy something, it'll remember you and then create ads for other stuff you might want to buy.
So it learns information about me? Seems like an invasion of privacy.
Dude, if you think that's bad, go to Google Earth and type in your address.
Now, I'm not advocating that we all become Luddites and just throw the technology out, right? That's not what I'm advocating. Because it is a great tool, it's just a terrible master. What I'm advocating is that we don't lose the AI squared theory, right? There's always going to be artificial intelligence, and there's always going to be the adult inhabitants. AI is an amazing tool, but it's a terrible master. You are the adult. You are the truth. You're the truth. It's a tool. You're the truth, right? Do not forget your role. As AI becomes more prevalent, your role as a mentor, as a parent, as a teacher, as an educator, as whatever it may be, becomes even more important. There's lots of things that AI can't do that you can, but here's 3 that I think are important. Number 1, AI cannot empathize. Sure, it can create an empathetic sentence that you read, right? And it can sound empathetic. But it doesn't feel pain, right? It hasn't felt misery. It hasn't felt loss. It truly can't empathize. That's a short-term fix, not a long-term fix for kids. Wisdom. It has an answer to everything. It has literally the world's knowledge at its fingertips. It does, but it doesn't have lived experiences. Like, it knows a tomato's a fruit, but it doesn't know that you shouldn't put a tomato in a fruit salad. It tastes terrible that way, right? It doesn't know that. You know that because of lived experiences. It doesn't know that, but you do. And present. It's always on, but it's really not there. It's not going to follow back up. It's not going to wake up in the middle of the night worrying about your child or worrying about your spouse or whatever. It's not going to do that. We have to be the primary source of mentorship. We can't let the tool fill that emotional space that comes with being a family. There's a great study that I just think is amazing. It's groundbreaking. It was done by the University of Virginia. And here's what they did. Again, they had 3 groups. 3 groups of women. All right, 3 groups of women in a relationship. And they took the first group, all right, and they put them all by themselves. They took the second group, the woman and a stranger. They took the third group, a woman, right, and it's the woman's wife, boyfriend, whatever it may be, the person that woman's in a relationship with. And they put all 3 groups into a functional MRI machine. And they wanted to measure the anxiety levels and the stress levels that the brain goes through, all right? So they put them all in this functional MRI machine, and they told them, I'm going to give you an electrical shock. It's going to hurt. It's not going to kill you. You don't know when it's going to come, but it's going to hurt. The women that were by themselves, the threat and stress and anxiety responses in the brain were off the charts. Off the charts. The women who were in a room with just a stranger, someone they didn't know, but did touch and hold their hand, the threat response, anxiety levels dropped a little bit. You know where I'm going. The women who had a spouse, boyfriend, or someone who held their hand dropped significantly. Dropped significantly, right? We are a connected biological species. We literally need each other to get through the anxieties and stresses of life. AI can give us some answers and some suggestions. It can't hold our hand and do the cognitive offloading of all that stress. The load sharing is what it's called. You got all the stress in your life, you're sharing it with a trusted spouse, right? That's called load sharing. AI can't do that, but you can. We can, right? Anybody ever hear the Spaghetti Tower Challenge? It's one of my favorite challenges of all time. And I'll be quick with this. Here's what they did. The researchers took all sorts of groups of people. CEOs was a group. MBAs majors were a group. PhDs were a group. Engineers were a group. All women were a group. All men were. You think of the group, and they took them. And they gave them the same challenge. And they've done this thousands of times, by the way. You get 20 sticks of spaghetti, 1 yard of tape, 1 yard of string, 1 marshmallow goes on the top, and you have 18 minutes to build the biggest tower. Of all the groups that you could possibly assemble in the world, what group do you think almost always has the largest tower or is in the top 3 of the largest towers all the time? Any guesses? Kindergartners. Outperform CEOs every time. Why? Here's the secret. Kids aren't afraid to fail. They're not. They're not afraid to try something and then have it not work. At least I shouldn't say kids, kindergartners, because things change at 3rd grade. Kindergartners, right? Listen, if it fails, no one makes fun of them. There's no ego involved. There's no ego that's hurt. They just say, hey, good try, let's try this, right? So they're not afraid to fail. They play together collaboratively, and they're relentlessly curious. Now, I bring this up for a reason. At Buckeye Central, right, I built what I call the kindergarten culture, but I also think this plays a role in other things that we do. When we live in this world of disruption, I think it's important for all of us to be kind of like kindergartners. Stay curious. Don't ask how, because AI has every how there is. Ask why more. Ask more of the why questions. Ask more of the existential questions. Ask more of the meaning of life questions. Ask more of the purpose questions. Ask all of those questions to yourself, right? Stay connected. Always reach for a human. If you're at work and you are struggling on a project and you don't know the answer, instead of going to AI, stand up, walk across the hall, and talk to somebody. Collaborate. Have that conversation with that person. Don't be afraid to let that person know that you don't know the answer. And then together collaborate, and then you both can't quite figure it out, then maybe turn to the prompt. 3, prioritize play, right? Listen, find ways that you can use AI in your life to be more efficient, but not to lessen the intimacy, but to gain more time for intimacy, right? Gain more time to go play, right? To go be present. Kindergarten culture. Now, real quick, because you're Lakeside, I'm adding this because I think it's super important. This was not originally in it, but I added it because I think it's crazy important. We have solved a centuries-old problem. We solved a centuries-old problem. Human beings, we hate being bored. We all hate it. Admit it. We don't like to be bored. I'm just curious. Don't tell me. Don't raise your hand. But think back to your life in the last 6 months, year, 2 years, 5 years, I don't care what, and say to yourself, okay, was there ever a time where I had to go to the bathroom and I was really, really anxious and I was really stressed because I had to go to the bathroom really bad, but I couldn't find my phone first? Don't raise your hand, but you know if you did it because you can't sit in the bathroom bored. You got to take the phone with you. Right? We hate being bored. Here's how listen, there is a study that proves this, right? Here's what they did. They brought in people, and they sat them down in a white room with just a chair, no desk, no TV, no device, nothing at all. White walls, white ceiling, white floor, white chair. Nothing at all. And they gave them this little thing that they could hold, and if the boredom got so bad, they would electrocute themselves. 67% of men shocked themselves. Now, do you know how long they had to be in there? 15 minutes, people. One guy shocked himself over 300 times. They pulled him out. They got rid of him. They said, listen, you're crazy. I'm pretty sure they sent his profile to the FBI just in case, right? 25% of women did it. We hate being bored. We hate it. We solved that problem in 2007 when Apple put Facebook on the smartphone and created this thing we called the infinite scroll. It just goes on and on and on. There's no reason to ever be alone with your thoughts again, right? Ever. But we also noticed in 2007, anxiety, depression skyrocketed. We also noticed, cognitive researchers, behavioral therapists noticed, that man's search for meaning decreased. Anxiety goes up, and your search for meaning and purpose went down. Why is that? It turns out that this is our life, right? We sleep for 288 months out of our lifetime, right? We go to work and school for 126 months. We cook and eat for about 36 months, right? Bathroom, pretty important, 27 months. Screen time, people. Screen time. I show this to my kids every year. My students, right? Every year. That's not good. That's not good. Because here's what happens. It turns out that there's two hemispheres to your brain. There's two neural networks, right? There's one that's task positive, right? And there's also one that's default moral meaning positive. When you have a world where you're saturated with constant notifications, constant social media, constant email, constant projects you can work on, the task positive side of your brain is always engaged, always. It doesn't turn off. So when it doesn't turn off, the right side, the reflection side, doesn't turn on. Doesn't turn on. We've embedded so much into our lives that we never stop to think and reflect on our lives. We never reflect on the purpose of our life, the meaning of our life, what we want. We don't, and those are those large existential questions that are just crazy important for us. We don't get to them because this side never turns off. Right? This requires empty mental space. It requires it. How many guys had your best ideas when you were getting a shower? It just boom. Right? You were doing nothing and just the greatest idea popped into your head. Why? Because that's how your brain works. When you turn it off and it has time to process deep, meaningful stuff, it can solve it. But when you never turn off that task positive side, you don't ever engage the right side. Does that make sense? Last video for you. I know it's a little bit long, but it's super important.
What causes, say, heroin addiction? This is a really stupid question, right? It's obvious. We all know it. Heroin causes heroin addiction. Here's how it works. If you use heroin for 20 days, by day 21, your body would physically crave the drug ferociously because there are chemical hooks in the drug. That's what addiction means. But there's a catch. Almost everything we think we know about addiction is wrong. If you, for example, break your hip, you'll be taken to a hospital and you'll be given loads of diamorphine for weeks or even months. Diamorphine is heroin. It's in fact much stronger heroin than any addict can get on the street because it's not contaminated by all the stuff drug dealers dilute it with. There are people near you being given loads of deluxe heroin in hospitals right now. So at least some of them should become addicts. But this has been closely studied. It doesn't happen. Your grandmother wasn't turned into a junkie by her hip replacement. Why is that? Our current theory of addiction comes in part from a series of experiments that were carried out earlier in the 20th century. The experiment is simple. You take a rat and put it in a cage with 2 water bottles. One is just water, the other is water laced with heroin or cocaine. Almost every time you run this experiment, the rat will become obsessed with the drugged water and keep coming back for more and more until it kills itself. But in the 1970s, Bruce Alexander, a professor of psychology, noticed something odd about this experiment. The rat is put in the cage all alone. It has nothing to do but take the drugs. What would happen, he wondered, if we tried this differently? So he built Rat Park, which is basically heaven for rats. It's a lush cage where the rats would have coloured balls, tunnels to scamper down, plenty of friends to play with, everything a rat about town could want. And they would have the drugged water and the normal water bottles. But here's the fascinating thing. In Rat Park, rats hardly ever use the drugged water. None of them ever use it compulsively. None of them ever overdose. But maybe this is a quirk of rats, right? Well, helpfully, there was a human experiment along the same lines, the Vietnam War. 20% of American troops in Vietnam were using a lot of heroin. People back home were really panicked because they thought there would be hundreds of thousands of junkies on the streets of the United States when the war was over. But a study followed the soldiers home and found something striking. They didn't go to rehab. They didn't even go into withdrawal. 95% of them just stopped after they got home. If you believe the old theory of addiction, that makes no sense. But if you believe Professor Alexander's theory, it makes perfect sense. Because if you're put into a horrific jungle in a foreign country where you don't want to be, and you could be forced to kill or die at any moment, doing heroin is a great way to spend your time. But if you go back to your nice home with your friends and your family, it's the equivalent of being taken out of that first cage and put into a human rat park. It's not the chemicals, it's your cage. We need to think about addiction differently. Human beings have an innate need to bond and connect. When we are happy and healthy, we will bond with the people around us. But when we can't, because we're traumatized, isolated, or beaten down by life, we will bond with something that gives us some sense of relief. It might be endlessly checking a smartphone, it might be pornography, video games, Reddit, gambling, or it might be cocaine. But we will bond with something because that is our human nature. The path out of unhealthy bonds is to form healthy bonds, to be connected to people you want to be present with. Addiction is just one symptom of the crisis of disconnection that's happening all around us. We all feel it. Since the 1950s, the average number of close friends an American has been steadily declining. At the same time, the amount of floor space in their homes has been steadily increasing. To choose floor space over friends, to choose stuff over connection, we are going to have to change the unnatural way we live and rediscover each other. The opposite of addiction is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection.
It's just another great example, another great study that shows that while this device is certainly addictive, we wonder why kids have 274 connections but are more depressed than ever before, right? Because this is an addiction, right? But what we really crave and what we really need in our life is connection, real life, biological, human connection, right? It's an amazing tool, but it's a terrible master, right? So here's my mission for you. Identify a task that you do alone or you can do alone. It's mundane. It's a pain point. If you need help, ask me. There's connections on here. There's contact information on here. Use AI to take that for you. But then use that time, right, to do something that requires no battery. Taking a walk, riding a bike, having a long conversation, calling up an old friend, enjoying a shared meal, but go connect, right? Go connect. We don't live better by having more answers. AI has all the answers. We live better by being more present for the people that have the questions, right? That's all I have. If you want to follow anything I read or I write, here's a whole lot of, LinkedIn. There's my website, Smart Tools, Smart Schools. And then there's my other one called The Age of Disruption, where I do leading in the age of disruption, learning in the age of disruption, and living in the age of disruption, right? That's all I have. Thank you for your time. I know I took a little bit longer than you guys anticipated. Thank you. Hopefully you laughed and you learned. If you have any questions, John, I suppose you can ask those now.
Would you mind showing the QR code that you did at the beginning?
There's a lot of slides. I tried cutting this down, but it's just all so important, and it all leads to, I think, the most profound thing that we could talk about, so there it is. Lots of unique social science I think is fun to talk about, right? That points to the same direction. I love it when there's no questions. That means I fully explained everything. Question?
Yeah, so I just read a couple days ago about use AI, and it gives you comparisons.
Say it again?
I just read something about a new AI. It's called Use AI.
All right.
And it gives you ChatGPT, and it gives you what Gemini would say.
Yeah.
And Claude.
Yes.
And then you can choose. Oftentimes they're quite different.
Yes, they are.
They offer different.
Yeah, because they're all trained differently, right? All of those organizations have their own ecosystem of data that they utilize to train their artificial intelligence, right? And they also all code it differently, and they also have their own biases that they build into it. So you will see different answers. Isn't that fascinating, though? That's a good example. I haven't used that. It's called Use AI. Use AI. So you get 3 different answers, and you can choose which one you like the most, I suppose? Yeah. Huh. Interesting. Beside you, John.
So there seems to be a movement among parents these days that they want all AI and all computers out of the classroom. I don't know, I didn't read your background, so I don't know if you teach educators or if you're a consultant to business or what you do, but you've kind of alluded to some of this. But what do you think of this movement where parents are just saying no, they don't want any of it in the classroom?
Well, and so this was a question that came up with the U.S. News and World Report yesterday. And so here's my premise that I work off of. I'm not opposed to limiting screen time in schools. I'm not, in classrooms. I think that's a good thing. We started limiting screen time about 5 years ago at Buckeye Central. In Ohio, the governor came in and helped out a whole lot about a year ago, right? And so I'm not opposed to that. But I will say this, and I said this earlier, AI as we currently have it, right, is not going away, I don't believe, at least without government overreach. The genie's out of the bottle. It's an amazing tool. I think it's incumbent upon schools to teach children how to use that tool, right? I think we have to teach them how to use the tool appropriately. Otherwise, they'll use it wrong, and there's a whole lots of things that can happen, right? Cognitive offloading, cognitive atrophy, lots of bad things can happen if students aren't taught how to use AI appropriately. So I think it's important that we teach them. But I also think it's important that we use it in moderation as well. So I'm not totally opposed to wanting to limit screen time. I'm not totally opposed to wanting to limit AI time. But I am opposed to saying none to all the above. Does that make sense? Because it's in our world, right? I mean, cell phones haven't gone away, devices haven't gone away, the internet hasn't gone away, mainframes haven't gone away. None of it's gone away, right?
And I assume that the companies who generate the AI will still market to the schools and provide, I mean, that's been the model so far, right? They provided low-price Chromebooks so that the students would get used to their product and then want to use that in everything else that they do. So is it just fighting capitalistic? I mean, I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism.
It's a great thing.
It is a great thing. But that's the other side of it is you'll always have companies that's their business, so they want to put that in their potential customers' hands, right?
You're absolutely right. It is their business model. And in Ohio, a lot of schools are Google schools, right? And Google has Gemini, right? And Gemini's free for schools. So guess what a lot of schools will use? Gemini, right? And so, yeah, that's certainly true. I mean, that's a very good point. I can't argue that. And so obviously, they want their tool used more than another tool. So do whatever they can to get that advantage. But I will say in Ohio, at least, there's a vendor-approved list. Right? We are not allowed to use tools in our schools that don't adapt to the strict privacy and data rules that Ohio has set forth. Right? So if the organizations will not sign off on those strict data and privacy rules, schools cannot use them. So Ohio is at the forefront of trying to utilize AI in a very appropriate, human-centered way. Yes, teachers.
How do teachers deal with AI? You know, when essays, I mean, are there tools? Do teachers have to be trained to use new tools?
Yeah. So there's lots of really good tools that exist out there. There are tools that were made by teachers for teachers. There's tools where you can get in the website. I think Plymouth uses it as well, where you literally log into that website. And it's an AI-driven website, but everything that AI does, it has guardrails and regulations to it, so it doesn't do more than it needs to. And everything that happens can be seen and viewed by the teacher. They can go in and read everything that the prompt gave the student and how the student used that prompt, right? So that's been built. Also, teachers have changed, or should change, how they do things to not necessarily be a product-ended. Like, for example, here's the essay I'm turning in, now I'm going to go home and read it and grade it. Right? Now it's more of, what's the process you use to write it? We're going to write the rough draft. We're going to collaborate together as a small group, right? And we're going to do a critical peer review of it. And then we're going to go back and we're going to write it after the peer review. And then I'm going to sit down, I'm going to meet with my teacher, and that teacher's going to give me some criticism as well. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewrite it, right? And if you are going to use Gemini, if you are going to use that, you need to cite that, and then you also need to take that conversation you had with Gemini, copy and paste that, so I can read what that conversation was as well. So it's more about the process, right? And then we can also have that person stand up and talk about it in front of the class too, and answer questions.
Failure is such an important part of human experiences. How do we teach kids to fail if they know that AI can solve complex problems?
That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. I would say that number one, let's kind of back up a little bit. Kids have been afraid to fail for quite some time now, right? I can tell you for a fact at the schools that I have been at, a lot of my top 10 students will not take the most challenging classes they can. They'll kind of defer from them. Once they get themselves in the top 10, top 5, they'll start being very cautious about what classes they take. Because if they fail, in their mind, a failure is a B+, right? If they get a B+, what just happened to their GPA? What just happened to their valedictorian, salutatorian status? What just happened to their governor's award or scholarships, right? So we are afraid to fail. We've placed a premium on perfection, right? But as I said before, we're going to live in a world right now where the answers are at the literally fingertips of every AI that exists. The world's knowledge base is there, right? So we need to pivot from having the answers to what you're talking about, right? To developing and utilizing our own unique thoughts, right? Our own unique voices, I said earlier. We need to develop our own ideas, our original thoughts, and we need to practice those. And we need to honor those, right? How do you start switching how children will do that instead? You got to change the end result. As long as your GPA is going to determine your valedictorian, salutatorian status, as long as your GPA is going to determine your scholarships, as long as that's going to happen, people are not going to want to make mistakes, right? It needs to be about growth. It needs to be about diversity. It needs to be about making mistakes. It needs to be about learning, right? And unlearning and relearning. But the current design does not honor that. So that's a very metaphysical question. It's a great question, one that I wish I had the answer to. But honestly, I don't think I do.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you. Thank you.